Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all for joining us here today. We're going to ask that everyone please stand as Councilman Adams leads us in prayer, and please remain standing for the pledge. All right, again, I want to thank everyone for being here. We're going to go ahead and jump into our agenda. First item on the agenda tonight will be consider approval of minutes of the June 6, 2023 regular session, the June 13, 2023 workshop, and June 13, 2023 budget workshop. Council, if we had time to review, we'll open the floor for a motion.
I've reviewed the minutes and I move that we accept them as written. I'll second that.
Yes, we have a motion by Councilman Adams, second by Councilman Chappelle. Madam Secretary, please record a vote.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
Aye.
Councilmember Sproul. Aye. Councilmember Chappelle.
Motion is unanimous. We'll now close item 1 on the agenda. We'll now move on to item 2. Item 2 is a public comment. At this time, if we have anyone that need to come up, please feel free to come at this time and present yourself, with an address and name. Okay. All right. Since we have no one at this time, we'll go ahead and close item 2 on the agenda. This time, we'll move on to item 3. Item 3 is a discussion and consideration of canceling the July 4th, 2023 meeting.
Due to the holiday, I recommend that we cancel the July 4th meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay.
It's up to you. We discussed it, so we either need to put it in that week or the next week. It's 2 weeks apart, so it'd be the 18th if we canceled it. It just depends on if you think vacations and so forth are happening or whatever.
I'm gonna be gone that second week, and so I'd just say we move everything to the third week.
We have anything further? That said, we'll go ahead and cancel that July 4th meeting. And
You probably need to vote on it.
okay, it didn't have it, but we can vote on it, I guess. So, yeah, just consider it. All right, well, with that being said, we have a motion. Actually, I guess that, I know you recommend it, but I'll go ahead and get as a formal motion.
I move that we cancel the July 4th meeting and reschedule the next meeting for July 18th, 2023.
I'll second.
Here we have a motion made by Councilman Walker, second by Councilman Adams. Madam Secretary, let's take a vote on that.
Councilmember Chappelle.
Aye.
Aye. Councilmember Walker.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous. We'll now close that item on the agenda. At this time, we'll go ahead to item 4. Item 4 is to consider approval of a pay request from Watson Commercial Construction Ltd. for the work on the community center. Ms. Jordan.
Jordan's here tonight. Hasn't had electricity till last night sometime, so.
Hello, everybody. I hope y'all weathered this storm okay. And the community center weathered it pretty well. There was just one light that got busted out on it. But the rain is definitely causing some delays because we just have site work left on it. The building is for the most part, complete. We've already done the interior building punch, initial punch, and we've done our subsequent final punch for the interior of the building. And at that time, we did the exterior as well, initial punch. So we're really just waiting on site work and then some of the items that have not come in, which is the interior plaques, which were added a little bit later on, as well as the exterior chicken sign. I was trying to think of a better way of saying that, but the chicken sign that's supposed to be at the entry. But other than that, it's really just the site work. We have to get the concrete dry enough to be able to apply the sealants, and we just keep occasionally getting the rain that re-wets the concrete, and so they can't apply the sealants to it. But this is the pay app for number 17 from Watson. It's certified in the amount of $76,386 even. You can see that most of the items are 100% out of completely done. You just have your retainage held back. So for this one, all of the concrete has been poured, but technically the flat work's not complete because the sealants have not been applied yet. And then also the operable partition has been received and installed, and it looks really good. The electrical is mostly done. The only thing that had not been done by the time this pay app was submitted was the exterior pole lights, but according to the reports, those lines were being pulled last week and the poles installed, I believe, this week. So that one should be 100% by the next pay app as well. And then the other item that's being drawn on is the landscape, and they're hoping to finish up the landscaping this week.
What about the masonry and wall tile that shows to be about 85%?
Those items are the caps to the columns had not been installed, and then the dumpster enclosure was being constructed. And so at our last site visit, the caps had been installed and the dumpster enclosure walls had been erected except for the cap. So that's what's remaining on that. And then as far as the wall tile, it is complete, but the Watson does not bill until they receive the bill from the sub, and the sub just hasn't billed it out.
You mentioned that the chicken sign was gonna be at the entry. We're talking about the red chicken that's gonna be on the building, right? Not the entry sign.
Correct. It's not red though. It's black, but it's above the entry. Yes, it goes above the doors, above the entry canopy, but it's a black color, so it has that's the way it has been from the beginning. But it's a black iron ore color to match like the canopies and such, and then you have the pewter light gray color beyond it.
So may I ask a question that I will be asked? When do you think this building will be completed?
Their conservative answer right now is July 10th, and that's just saying that if we just keep on getting these periodic rains. But they would really like to have it done by the end of this month because they haven't asked for any additional general conditions for the extended duration that they've had. So they're losing money as long as this is dragging out. So I think they're hopeful to get it done by the end of this month, but they're conservatively saying July 10th in case they continue to get rains, because it really is just the site work holding them up.
Okay, I noticed, did you say the light was just out or something?
There was a light that was damaged, but it's already been replaced.
Okay, when I was there this morning, I noticed one of the windows in the back that was shattered. Are you aware of that?
I was unaware of that. I talked to the project manager today. That's not the superintendent on site though, so he just might not have been aware of that at that time. But I'll talk to him and see what their plans are on that.
Okay, thank you.
I will take just a second to make sure everybody's aware. When I was over for Juneteenth, everything looked great. It was awesome. These are monies that Pilgrims have donated and that the citizens of Mount Pleasant have spent. We removed the fencing from around the basketball court and in less than 2 days, somebody had drove on the basketball court. And this isn't for Jordan, this is just overall for the citizens of Mount Pleasant. It's your money that's being spent, along with Pilgrim's money that's being spent. It's everybody's responsibility to make sure that all the facilities, not just Oaklawn, all the city facilities is city citizens' money. And if you see somebody abusing your money, please call the police, because there is no reason for us to spend this kind of money providing citizens and children a place to be and not be in trouble, have some activity they can do, and for somebody to have the audacity to drive a vehicle on top of an enclosed basketball court. And I know it happened on a weekend probably or something, but somebody saw it. Now, we went back and got the video, and I think we've taken care of the situation. Please, if you see somebody doing something like this to our facilities, call the police, please.
All right, thank you there, Given. Council, did we have anything further? Okay, the floor will be open for a motion on this item.
I move for the approval of the pay request to Watson Commercial Construction for the work on the community center.
Second that.
All right, we have a motion made by Councilman Walker, second by Councilman Chappelle. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Councilmember Sproul? Aye. Councilmember Chappelle?
Aye.
Councilmember Walker?
Aye.
Councilmember Adams?
Aye.
Vote is unanimous. Thank you, Jordan. We really appreciate you. All right, at this time, we'll go ahead and close item 4 on the agenda and move on to item 5. Item 5 is to consider award of the bid for the 2023 Sports Complex Regional Sanitary Sewer Improvements of Mount Pleasant, Texas.
Good evening. We opened bids on June the 8th, 2 o'clock, and got some good bids, and one of them came in right where I think it should have been, with Wicker Construction out of Shreveport. Ran the bid tabs, everything looked good, all their numbers added up, talked to them, they're good to go. I think they're already in town working on, as a sub, the all sewer plant project. City staff was pleased that they were the low bidder, and I would recommend awarding this contract to them.
All right, thank you. Council, we have any questions?
What's the timeline on this project?
It's gonna be a year. They're working on the submittals now for the electrical panels in that lift station. That's gonna be the longest lead time on the whole project, the electrical components in that control box.
Ed, would you please remind us what this project, where this need came from and what we're gonna accomplish with it?
Sure. Y'all are aware that we, up on 271, where the sports complex is, we annexed property north of there. Developer is developing now that whole area and agreed to pay $200,000 toward putting water up there. And we annexed that whole area upon their request. Plus we annexed the sports complex. And I think in their initial development, they're gonna have 140 homes up there. But by annexing it and putting the water up there and the sewer up there, it's gonna open up 1,400 lots available for development in that area. So that's where it came from. And then we had money in the budget to do, or capital budget, to do another project, extend water out to the northeast part of town. We taken that to fund the sewer part of it so that we have the money to fund it. So we think when you annex, you kind of got to have a plan, service plan to put the services in and plan. Many cities will annex and then not put any services in, and that's not really the legal way to do it, and it doesn't fit your plan. But our plan was to develop the northeast part or the north part of town there. So we recommend we approve it and go forward.
All right, council, we have any further questions? I will open the floor for a motion at this time.
I make a motion to approve bid for 2023 Sports Complex Regional Sanitary Sewer Improvement, Mount Pleasant, Texas, as presented.
I'll, second motion, for the low bidder Wicker Construction.
Before you vote, I just wanted to say, the reason it's called Sports Complex Sewer is because it runs through there, but it's for all the development that's gonna be there, so we just named it the Sports Complex thing.
All righty. Well, we have a motion made by, Councilman Chappelle, second by Councilman Adams. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Councilmember Walker, Councilmember Adams, Councilmember Chappelle,
Aye.
Councilmember Sproul.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. We'll close that item on the agenda, and then now we'll move on to item 6. Item 6 is to consider award of a bid for County Road 2200 rehabilitation.
Mayor, Council, Mr. Thatcher, it's good to be here with you. What you have before you is a bid for the County Road 2200 at Diamond C. This bid is $656,681.47. It's for construction of about 1,350 feet of 10-inch concrete road to help with the new construction of the Diamond C facility out there. It is part of a grant. The grant portion of the project had a construction budget of $664,000. So we're just right underneath that with our low bid. The low bid is Francis Excavating LLC out of Nash, Texas, and we have checked their references, and everybody that we talked to said that they did an adequate job, a good job, and so we are recommending them.
Mayor and council, also, if you remember, this road was to basically go to the county line, wasn't it, from the main road, and it goes between the two complexes of Diamond C. And it was really meant to, before we even knew they were expanding, it was meant to be able to get trucks in and out of both sides of their facility without getting down in the mud and stuff, because it's a pretty old road there. So say that Nathan Foya wrote a grant, and we got this grant to do this. It's it needs a $120,000 match, and we're coming up $30,000 for each of us, IDC, the county, and Diamond C, $30,000 each to make the match. But since this grant was being written, started being written and it was approved, but Diamond C is, as you know, has decided to expand further south. So there needs to be more of the road paved. We'll hear more about that in the future as we see if we get another grant or how that's going to be paid for. But they will want to develop the road on down south beyond this point. But this is the first part.
Ed, is this actually a public street?
Yes, it is. It was an old county road, and of course we've annexed it so to the city limits. It's a city road. Probably needs to be named. Maybe it's Diamond C Way or something. Anyway, but as we annex more of it, it'll become a city road.
All right, council, any further questions? Okay, at this time, I'll open the floor for a motion.
I make a motion that we award the bid for County Road 2200 Rehabilitation Diamond C.
I'll second that motion.
All righty, we have a motion made by Councilman Chappelle, second by Councilman Adams. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Councilmember Chappelle,
Aye.
Councilmember Sproul,
Aye.
Councilmember Walker,
Aye.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
Vote is unanimous. We'll now close that item on the agenda and move on now to item 7. Item 7 is to consider approval of final pay request from W.M. Miller for work on the 10-inch water main. Mr. Katz.
Okay, they finally got through. Fought the weather all spring long, and now we're done, cleaned up. This pay app is just the retainage, releasing the retainage on the contract. $26,442.13. Actually came in real close to budget on this job.
This is the water line we just talked about that feeds this north area.
I think last time you come up, we'd asked about that, and you had said they were chasing some water leaks. I'm assuming we got all that fixed too.
Yes, we got all those addressed, fixed, pressure tested, everything turned out good.
Any other questions? Floor is open for a motion.
I'll move the final pay request from W.M. Miller on the 10-inch water main.
I'll second that.
A motion made by Councilman Adams, second by Councilman Chappelle. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Councilmember Walker,
Aye.
Councilmember Adams, Councilmember Sproul, Councilmember Chappelle.
Aye.
Motion is unanimous. Vote is unanimous, that is. Okay, we'll go ahead and close that item on the agenda and now move on to our next. Our next item is item 8, is to consider approval of pay request from Anchor Contracting LLC for pavement rehabilitation phase 3.
Mayor, Council, Mr. Thatcher, once again, it's a privilege to be here. What you have before you is pay request number 1 for Anchor Contracting for an amount of $44,236.51. I will say that this pay request was issued or was prepared a few weeks ago, and they are probably 80% or more finished with the project now. So this is a little bit short on what they've actually done. They like Old Parish Road paving and then some striping on Otyson and on Industrial to be finished with the project. So we're moving along pretty well on this one. And well, get any questions, let me know.
Did you say 80%?
Yes, ma'am. They're at least they're like one stretch of Parish Road and some striping. That's about it.
So they're way ahead of their timeline, estimated 150 days. Is that correct?
Correct. So normally on this pavement rehab project, we come in like right at the timeline, but we don't start till right before the timeline. So in this one, we actually moved the contractor actually got here quicker than they normally do, and we were able to get started sooner.
Which is all good. My concern is since we're gonna need to skip a meeting, that's gonna put them a whole month. This is not near the amount of money, and if they're gonna finish, and aren't they gonna be needing some money quicker than 30 days?
I've already asked him that, and he understands. Yeah, normally contractors work for 30 days anyway between, so I don't know that it's all that extraordinary out of the way.
This doesn't have anything to do exactly with this project, but you mentioned striping. Mr. Thatcher, what's the process to get striping on Industrial Road there between 67 and back over to Washington Street? Because that street right there, you can barely see the stripes on the road. So I've had a lot of citizens ask me about getting the stripes put down on that street.
That's part.
Plan on next month coming right.
I don't think Keith liked that mic.
Are there any other questions?
Are we good, council? All right, we'll go ahead and open the floor for a motion.
Make a motion, approve pay request for Anchor Contracting LLC for pavement rehabilitation phase 3.
I second the motion.
I have a motion made by Councilman Chappelle, second by Councilman Walker. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Councilmember Adams,
Aye.
Aye.
Councilmember Sproul, Councilmember Chappelle.
Aye.
Vote is unanimous. We'll now close that item and move on now to item 9. Item 9 is to consider approval of pay request from Heritage Constructors and INC for the Southside Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Council, Mayor, Mr. Thatcher again, Lenny. What you have before you is pay request number 1 from Heritage Constructors. This is essentially for the mobilization, bonding, insurance, and for a little bit of care of water. They are on the site. This is 50% of the mobilization, and then, like I said, a little bit of stormwater. And the amount's $957,462.01. And the contractor is here if you have any questions. That.
Thank you, Lanny. Council, do we have any questions at this time? We need time to review some things.
So am I looking at this right, Lanny? This is approximately a 2-year project?
Yes, what's the end date? It's a little over 2 years.
I'd like to also say, as you're thinking about this, this is the biggest project we've got going, the most expensive, and also, if you all ever have a time, you let me know and you want to run out and look at it, we can take you out and show you what they're doing. And it's really pretty incredible, all the land what they're going to be doing out there, and you get a better look at what we're doing. And so we'll welcome any of you to come down and take a tour.
Yeah, so one of the most impressive things right now is they're putting in dewatering wells because it's in a low area, and they anticipate pumping 500 gallons a minute out of the water just to dry this area up. So it's pretty impressive.
We were down there last week, and they didn't even have the pumps running, but they had the wells and several of the wells. About half of the wells are 20 out of, 30 out of 42 or something like that. And they had a hose hooked up to one, and the water was running out about a 4-inch hose or 3 or 4-inch hose. There was no pump pumping it. It's just the water in the ground there's so much water, and the pressure was forcing it out. Pretty incredible to see. And they'll de-water it, and that'll dry out the area and be able to build a plant on it.
So where's that water running off to that they're draining out of the wells right now?
So it's a tributary of the Big Cypress.
All right, good deal. We'll go ahead and open the floor for a motion if we don't have any more questions.
I'll move the pay request for Heritage Constructors Incorporated for the first payment.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion made by Councilman Adams, second by Councilman Chappelle. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Councilmember Walker,
Aye.
Councilmember Sproul,
Aye.
Councilmember Chappelle,
Aye.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
Mayor and Council, we have a representative from the contractor here that if you have any questions, he'll be glad to answer them. Forget your name, sorry. Yeah, Jeff Reynolds. Hardly recognize him without his hard hat on.
Thank you for coming, and
We
proud to be working with you.
Y'all headquarter out of Paris?
All right, thank you. We appreciate that. The vote was unanimous, and we certainly appreciate you for coming to be available to us. All right, we'll go ahead and close that item on the agenda. At this time, we'll move on to item 10. Item 10 is hold a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance 2023-9, a request from John Anderson on behalf of Creative Destination Development, LLC, ATC Jam Partners, LLC. Yes, that's Brigade, ATC, LLC, and the City of Mount Pleasant for the approval of a zoning change from a general retail district to commercial, it's commercial district and a future development district to a planned development district number 2 for single-family, multifamily, and commercial district land uses, and establishing PD development regulations and totaling 110.65 acres for the subject property identified as being 100.714 acre tracts of land located in the Reese Porter Survey, abstract number 441, Titus County, Texas. The James R. Mitchell Survey, abstract number 384, Titus County, Texas. And the John Thompson Survey, abstract number 566, Titus County, Texas. City of Mount Pleasant, Titus County, Texas, and being a 940 acre tract of land located in the Reese Porter Survey, abstract number 441, Titus County, Texas, and generally located at the northwest quadrant of the intersection of Tankersley Road and West Ferguson Road, and at the northwest corner of the intersection of which is West Ferguson Road, Highway 271, and FM 1734.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, and I can assure you the next one will not be that long.
I'd appreciate it.
Good evening, members of the council, Mr. Thatcher as well. The subject property, as you've indicated, it's 110.654 acres, and it encompasses everything that you see here on the property. You've got Tankersley here as well as West Ferguson Road. This is on the northwest quadrant of the city, and so this is going to become a focal point, an entry, as you might consider, for the project. And in the staff memo that I provided, the one thing that we're looking at, since this is a zoning change to a planned development district, part of a planned development district, what it does, it establishes standards that are higher than typical city standards. So we have minimum standards that we have. So in this case, what the applicant, or Mr. Anderson, who's here this evening, is providing is some standards that he would like to see for his development. And what that is, and what I did, and I included just a quick summary in your memo. Don't want to touch on every one of those, but essentially this is a comprehensive set of regulations. It's 58 pages, and it's part of the PD ordinance that you're reviewing here for this evening. And essentially what this is going to take a look at is how's the site going to be designed, your design elements, your architectural elements, your lighting, all sorts of standards here that the development is going to take a look at. And essentially what that means is, if we take a look at just typical zoning, then you have straight zoning, which allows for, say, a commercial district, allows for anything, just about anything can be in a commercial district. In this case, these are specific standards that are only going to allow certain uses within that, and that way you have a compatibility of uses. That's what makes this a mixed-use district for this site. And so it's a master plan community, and when we take a look at the zoning, the current zoning on this property, as you can see, is you have commercial on the northern piece. Most of the middle area is general retail, and then you have a future development portion here. Tankersley Lake is situated right here, which is the edge of the city limits, and so this area here is outside of the city limits. And so when we take a look at this and we review what the applicant has submitted for his design of the 110 acres, we have commercial uses, we have residential uses, and also a mix of those. When we take a look at the residential area, they have this set up inside the center of this, which is a great place to have this. You have patio homes here, townhomes, as well as some multifamily and possibly some commercial here. When we take a look at this, you're looking at probably about 250 townhomes and patio homes for that, and probably about 750 multifamily units. So a total of approximately 1,000 residential properties within this district. Also within here, you have a couple of larger lots here that are for the commercial area. Probably going to be something along the lines of a national retailer, or maybe something there that's going to be a regional draw. Because, you know, this is going to be a focal point. It's an entry to the city, and so you want to have something that's going to have that draw for this area. What they're going to have as well, too, is you have some on the outer periphery along the highway, smaller lots here, the 1 to 2 acre lots. Those are probably going to be more along your restaurant, retail, that type of thing. You'll see probably some hotels, possibly, and some other office uses that are going to be associated with this. Opportunity here for open space with some additional amenities. You see a trail system that is here that connects with the city park, goes all the way through the development. And when we take a look at this, you take a look at the two main entrances here, which we have labeled as Anderson Parkway, and that's probably going to be the name of the street, I'm sure, Anderson Parkway. But what you have here, you have opportunity at the intersections where they're going to be enhanced. You'll have signage, you'll have landscaping, and obviously some lighting. Lighting for the entire area, because generally speaking, this is a pedestrian type of environment that Mr. Anderson is looking for. So you'll see some connectivity throughout the development that will lead over to the trail system, and just an area for folks to be able to come in and shop and enjoy the area. When we take a look at the 3D image, this is essentially, you have the existing uses here. You've got two senoritas located here. You have the Toyota facility, you have the hotel, and Atwoods. Obviously, these are not part of the development, but when you see it as a whole, it kind of mixes in with this. And so this is kind of the idea what this is going to look like once it's fully built out. This is the marina that they have, which will have some boat slips or boat docks. You have an area here, a gathering place for folks to be able to come in. If they come in by way of a boat, they can park, they can mingle, they can go around, they can walk around and shop. Kind of the idea for this area here. And so when we take a look at this from a zoning perspective, we have to take a look at the comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan calls this a mixed use center. And so with this being a mixed use development, it meets all the intent of the comprehensive plan that we have on record. So with that, staff did mail out 32 notices to all the property owners within 200 feet that are within the city limits. We did post it in the newspaper as well as on our online site. And we received one notice back in favor of the applicant's request. Planning and Zoning did meet last week and is forwarding a recommendation of approval. And with that, this goes into your hands for your decision this evening. And this is the public hearing. And as a note, Mr. Anderson does have a presentation that he wants to provide you. And with that, I'm available for any questions that you may have.
After we hear his presentation, would you be available for questions after that?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if council doesn't have anything, we can go ahead and go with that presentation, I believe.
We've got a video presentation. I think most of the council has probably seen this, but there's probably some people here tonight that have not. So we can show that, and then we'll discuss some of this stuff. Thank you. council, mayor, Mr. Thatcher. Appreciate y'all having me here today. So we're excited about what we're doing here, and we're excited for the opportunity and the possibility that this brings to Mount Pleasant. As Mr. Gonzalez stated, the primary reason that we've requested plan development zoning is so we can elevate the standards of the development. And so the city sets a minimum for different zonings, and what we would like to do is we would like to elevate that to ensure the quality of the build out within the development. And so some of these pad sites we will develop ourselves, but some of these will be sold to other builders and other national retailers who will come in and build their own structure, and they'll own that lot. And so what the plan development zoning does is it ensures that what they build matches the quality of what we're building. And so regardless of who owns the land or who it's transferred to, they'll still be held to the same standards that we're requesting for everybody to live up to within the development. The goal of what we're doing is to provide a place that people can enjoy, go hang out with their families. Along the lake, we're going to do a walking trail. There will be approximately 8 acres of lakefront that are reserved where that yellow line is, that will be cleaned up, and that we'll have a walking trail there so people can get more enjoyment out of the lake. And so people within the development, they'll be able to walk along that trail. It'll give them a state park feel, and it'll be a place that everybody can come and enjoy, hang out. You can go jogging or running, or but just enjoy the lakefront atmosphere and the view, and have a place to relax. I think if you ask 90% of the people in Mount Pleasant, what does Mount Pleasant need? The answer would be develop our grocery on the north side of town, steakhouse, or something to do. And so this development, those are all 3 goals of this development. And so I also believe that Mount Pleasant, this makes a statement about who Mount Pleasant is along the interstate. So with a nice development like this, when people drive through on the interstate, they say, hey, you know, that's a nice place. Let's stop there. Let's spend some money there, and which boosts the local economy. And so, which allows for growth. Right now, the local, so the industrial and commercial growth in Mount Pleasant has been bottlenecked due to a lack of residential living spaces for people to move here and to live. A lot of the companies that are looking at Mount Pleasant are asking, okay, that's great, but where are our employees going to live? You know, the apartment complex there on the south side of Walmart is pretty much the nicest apartment complex in town, and they have a year waiting list. And so we believe that this will meet the need in our community for additional residential. And so, but with that, tonight, you know, I know what we're only considering here tonight is zoning. And so, but the primary purpose of that is just to elevate the level of the development.
John, I had something kind of pop in my head as we were looking at that. Where you have the marina, is that going to be, is it a common area that the upkeep of it is handled from residual that's paid by the leasees, or is that something that the marina will actually have, I don't know, boat rentals or whatever, that somebody's actually responsible for that? I was just curious about who would do the upkeep on the marina boardwalk itself.
And so the short answer is that will be privately maintained. And so it'll be maintained either by our HOA or one of those businesses within the development. Our goal for that area is to have some paddle boards and you know, some things that, paddle boats and things people can rent and, enjoy the lake there. We're not really looking for a wave runner rental place. We're looking for, you know, something that people can just get out on the water, exercise. We've had some interest from a guy in Dallas that has a company like that already, and that's what they do. His wife does yoga, and they have some classes, and then he does paddle boarding and has a paddleboard class, and so we've got some interest from some people for that already.
And then I guess, I'm curious as to, just the different color codes on your map that was up last. What y'all's intention for section 24, which is the northernmost part? What are y'all thinking about there?
That's multifamily. And so, yes. So the total number of multifamily units based on density that we anticipate having in this development is a total of 750, which we believe will be built out in 3 phases. 3 phases of 250, so we'll start there on number 20. And so that tan area, that'll be where the first phase starts at, and it'll likely be in area 19. Area 19 is the only one we have marked as flex space, and so that could be multifamily or commercial. But 19 and 20 will likely be the first 2 phases, and then 24 would be the last phase of 250.
Come here for a minute, please. Based upon this report, only one person was in favor of the 32 that you did it?
Yes, sir. Based on the 32 notices that we sent out, we only received 1 notice back.
One thing I might just add, I think that David had said this, and what he was saying is that this zoning as a planned development protects this area for development better than anything we could do, and that nobody has by right can go in and do anything there unless they come to the council and get approval, unless it's to meet one of these uses, and also they would have to do it at our raised standards that we've got in there, higher standards. So it really protects that. I'm not saying that John's not going to do this, but if he didn't do this, this zoning would be protecting the area and would be the best way to do that. Anybody wanted to do anything different than this, like put a Love's truck stop in there or whatever, would have to come to council and ask for that zoning change to do that. So it doesn't allow them to do anything by right other than what's there at the higher standards.
Along those thoughts, that the what ifs. If this, okay, your proposed development, all the properties involved in it, all the perimeters, excuse me, that all at this point tonight is included in this request for all of those properties. There's nothing left, right? I mean, this was everything that you intend to include in this future mixed-use development. And I have a follow-up, if that's true, because I'm assuming that it is. If for some reason this development doesn't see fruition for whatever the reason, it just doesn't happen. Once all these properties in this proposed PID, if it needs to be changed because it's not that as your concept is, doesn't come to realization, then it becomes a spot zoning. If he wanted to say, because he decided to sell the properties and do something else because it didn't come to fruition, is it become a spot zoning then? And does that make sense, my question?
Yeah, it makes sense, but it doesn't become a spot zoning because this planned development would be zoned, all of this, and it'd have to be, whether Mr. Anderson did it or he sold it to somebody else, they'd have to put in the same development unless they come to you all and say, we want to change the zoning, and so you'd be able to say, well, what is the use you want and all that, and you'd be able to vote on that, but, and the thing is, this is, elevated standards to what we normally do, so it does protect it, and I think if Mr. Anderson didn't do it and he sold it to somebody else, we'd probably wanna say, we want the same thing that's there, it's been planned. But you all would be able to make that decision, P and Z and the city council.
Okay, and then just, does this also include the spot of land that the city has that they're intending, does this cover that spot of land also?
Yes, it does, and as I told Mr. Anderson, since we haven't closed on that land yet, that if it gets zoned, that land becomes more valuable. But anyway, I just thought I'd ask that.
So my understanding then, I just want to be clear on this, because this is sort of a one-off big deal for Mount Pleasant, including the zoning. This planned development zoning, Mr. Gonzalez, are those our standards? Are those his standard? And I'm just not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying for clarity, those standards, those 78 pages or 75, whose standards are those?
Okay, so these are Mr. Anderson's standards. Yes, staff has worked with Mr. Anderson's team in developing these and make sure that the standards that we have that are included in this are beyond what the city has. As an example, there are masonry standards in here that right now the city does not have that because the state changed that in 2019. This has masonry standards. It has architectural standards. It has additional elements that you will not see on other buildings here. So, and it controls the bulk and so forth of the buildings also as well. And as Mr. Anderson said as well, it's looking for a theme out here. So you're going to have high quality developments on the ground.
And let me just say, they're Mr. Anderson's standards now. He has to keep them, but this was a negotiation from the very beginning back in 2019, 2020, 2021, and us knowing that we needed to upgrade our standards, but this is a planned development, so whatever we could get him to agree to, we wanted it higher standards. So this was back in the early days. Robert LaCroix was involved in it, and so we put together a really good set of standards. I want to add though that, and Robert said this, and I think even Jim Sabonis said this, that John, they're aware and of projects he's done in the Metroplex that include these standards. He built something of a high standard, and that's why they were comfortable. Jim said they've worked with his team in other places, McKinney or on over into the Metroplex, and so that's why they felt comfortable, him being a hometown guy here, but that's kind of that same level of development he wants to do here is what he's done there.
Thank you, David.
Are there any other properties included in this besides the city's parcel that needs to be dealt with besides his property, or is it just his properties alone?
I think you and your partners own everything else. Is that correct?
It's 3.5 acres that we're gonna close on in August. Right there beside 12 and 18, between that and the Toyota dealership. I believe the zoning right now is general retail. And so that little spot, that's those two together. The one on the right is 2 acres and the one on the left is 1.5 acres. It's owned by the same group. We have a closing date scheduled for that in August. And so it was already zoned general retail, but what we're looking at actually doing right there is we're talking to a group that's approached us about doing a 40,000 square foot build-to-suit medical facility. And so that's likely what that'll become. But outside of that 3.5 acres, that's the only thing not included at this point, because we don't own it, we can't own it.
Did you ask the owners that you're trying, or did you even mention it to them about trying? So we'll have to come back at some point and rezone that to include it in this if,
No, it's general retail now, so if a facility locates there, we won't it does not have to be included in this plan development. It'll be built upon.
so you're excluding that from this PD standards.
Yes. And so the point would be, if we did decide to sell that off prior to build out or development or something, you know, there is a chance that we could come back and ask to include that. But at this time, we did talk to the people that own it. The problem with getting somebody to agree to that is what I'm doing is I'm harnessing myself by asking for this, because everything I build now is going to cost me more to build out, but it's going to be a higher quality. And so this other guy, he's not going to want to take a higher standard because nobody would. You know, everybody would want to be at a minimum standard if they could be. And so that's why nobody really wants you to put a PD zoning on their land prior to ownership, because nobody wants to be at a higher standard. I'm forcing that because we're the developer, and that's what we believe this should be.
Except the city, because it increases the value of our property.
I do agree that it does protect the property. It makes it, when that property is ever put into use, if it ever is, then it does restrict more what can be put there. I agree with that. I don't know about the value being increased necessarily, but it might.
All right, do we have any further questions? All right, this is a public hearing that had to close that part of the portion, and this time, if any, is there anyone else in the public at this time that would like to speak on this item? Please state name and address. You have to hold that button down the entire time.
Caitlin Luck, 1004 Stonehill. Good evening. I just wanted to come to y'all and urge you to please grant this request for the zoning change. The development that will be hopefully going here will offer tons of growth and expansion for Mount Pleasant. And when we look at this through a utilitarian lens, we can identify what would be the greatest good for the greatest number of people. The addition of townhomes, patio homes, and the newer multi-family complexes are desperately needed in this town. A decent unit is few and far between. This allocated portion will provide more people and families with a nice place to live. Additionally, the commercial development side would bring stores, shops, restaurants, potential office space, all things that would bring jobs and create jobs and money into our area. With Chick-fil-A here now, there's no telling what may follow, provided a prime location and good interstate visibility that the development offers. This project has the potential to revitalize the Lake Tankersley area and expand Mount Pleasant and create a huge draw through our town and all it has to offer.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anyone else at this time?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. My name is Linda Baker, and I'm here to support and express not just my opinion, but I have other people in favor of this project, and I'm very happy and excited. I've been part of this community for over 20 years, and I know we all know this is needed in our community. And this is a remarkable project, and I hope you can approve this request. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Cormican, representing Two Senoritas. It's like Mr. Anderson said, what we need to focus on with this project is we are the hub of East Texas. There's nothing from Texarkana to here, from here to Rockwall. We want Mount Pleasant to be a destination point. We want people to come through and say, hey, we need to stop there. Like it was talking about a steakhouse, different restaurants, and then all the additional housing that this is going to bring is going to just help this community grow as well. And making it a destination point for East Texas is one of the points that I approve what Mr. Anderson's trying to do. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. All righty, do we have anyone else? All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing part of this item on the agenda and move on to our consideration for approval. The floor is open for a motion.
I approve for the approval for the request of John Anderson on behalf of Creative Destination LLC.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Councilman Walker and then second by Councilwoman Spruill. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Councilmember Chappelle,
Aye.
Councilmember Sproul,
Aye.
Councilmember Walker,
Aye.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
Okay, that is a unanimous vote. We'll go ahead and close that item on the agenda and move on now to our next item, which is item 11, which is public comments. If you have anyone in there that would like to speak on anything at this time, please come up, state your name and address, and address the council. Council.
I just would like to first of all thank Mr. Thatcher and the city for all the work that was done at the Juneteenth Festival on last Friday to be a success. And again, as I've stated, since Mr. Harris has been here, I've been here all my life. I've never seen the parks in this city look like they look today, all of them. If you go over to Heritage Park, that bridge was like that for years and needed to be replaced. And you see the trees that are cut down and all the hard work. You know when you see them out there working, they're working to make the city look a better place. And Mr. Harris, I thank you for all the work you're doing to fix these parks and to bring them up to where they need to be. And thank you.
All right, I want to echo that same thing. You guys have done a remarkable job. Our staff has been great, and Mr. Thatcher, you've been one heck of a leader. We really appreciate you and all the hard work you do. Also, I want to extend that to our council. We got one marvelous council here. We've done a lot of hard work, and I mean, with our staffing and everything, it's just, we're in a really good place, and I see Mount Pleasant headed in the right direction. I want to thank you all for that.
I'd like to tag that with that along the Juneteenth. That was the portion of it that was for that weekend's activities in the whole area, but that particular Friday that is held in Oaklawn Park. It is a family-oriented day. It's geared towards family and children. There's most of the activities, the food products and stuff that are there that are made available to anybody. And it doesn't matter from what neighborhood you live. Everybody's welcome to come and be a part of that celebration, to celebrate what Juneteenth stands for and what it's recognized to be. So it's not just for any one neighborhood. It's for the entire city to enjoy, that would like to come and let their kiddos and ask and learn what this event represents. I just want to make sure everybody did realize that even though it's been held every year in that one park, it is citywide for all the families in town that can and want to be a part of that to come by and enjoy. And it's done very well. It's a fun day. It's got good, the snow cones, the ice cream, the hot dog, whatever is there, and the activities, and it is well done. And I appreciate too. It was, even after that hard rain and storm, it was hard for me. I had no electricity like most of us didn't, but I just perspired and went on like everybody else, and still perspiring today. And with that said too about the storm, how grateful and proud I am to be a part of Titus County, Mount Pleasant. There's been so many efforts from the county, from the city, to step up to help people with their loss of power. It's not just, it's to be no power, but to be so incredibly hot. There's a lot of elderly and sick people that can be very ill affected from the heat, and that there's been a lot of efforts made. Some churches, some civic groups, some citizens have volunteered. I just want to say how proud I am to be a part of this community right now. I think we've done outstanding to try to be there for folks, and it's not a hurricane, it's not Armageddon, but it is tough for a few hot days. Expecting mothers, it's very difficult, and so I can understand that it's hard. It's hard on me. I'm 61. I've been pretty good. I'm not quite as good a shape as I used to be. Quit that laughing. And so I appreciate everybody's efforts to take care of their friends and neighbors in the community. Hey, I had to go get a couple bags of that ice last night.
Okay, anyone else have anything? Okay, I'd be remiss if I didn't give recognition to what one of our local industries, Pilgrims, has sought out to help feed the community over at Oak Lawn Park. And from 10 to 6 throughout the week until everyone is restored, whichever comes first, that they're being given out water and ice, and also they'll be feeding people from 10 to 6. Also, with the performance group, performance food group, they're also donating and helping out the city. So it's amazing to see how we as a city can pull together in hard times. So I want to thank them also. I noticed there are a few churches also. We had a few church members from that would come out and volunteer to help with Pilgrims today. But we do have a few churches that are extending to help out with cooling stations and whatnot, and also the high school and stuff. So I just want to say thank you, and I couldn't be more proud of this city. Okay, with that being said, we'll go ahead and close the public comments. And yes, you have something? Come on, answer.
So I didn't want to cloud up the zoning with something else I had to say. So, but if I could, so short version is we're filming a TV show. We started filming today, and so what the TV show was about is we've started this truck company. We bought a truck from Burt Reynolds, and he built a truck in 2016 and 2018. We were able to buy that truck. We got to know him and some of those people around him, and after he passed away, they came to us and asked us if we would consider building those trucks. And so that's the short version of what we're doing, but we're doing it over on Industrial in the Wood Air Conditioning building. And so we purchased that building a few years ago. And so really the show's about, it's about Mount Pleasant, but the question is, why do we build the trucks? And the reason we build the trucks is because we're passionate about automobiles. But you know, past that, why do we build the trucks? We build the trucks to connect to people. And so if you're connected to people, they'll receive what you have to share. What's the most important thing you can share with somebody is really to love them. And so everybody's making an impact on their world, whether it's positive or negative, you're making an impact. And so, you know, the simple impact of the truck is people get to enjoy it, but everybody who sees it likely smiles. And so, you know, that's a smile. That's a joy to be able to put smiles on people's face. But, you know, since the plane crash, you know, it's been almost a year since we had the crash. And so since then, you know, in that crash, the next day a friend of mine went out to the crash site, and the FAA investigator told him that he had never seen a survivor from a crash like that. And so for three of us to survive and go on to live normal lives is a miracle. So with that, you know, you got a purpose. And so that makes you want to walk it out. So I get up every day with the increased awareness of what's my purpose and how am I going to walk it out today. And so the question is, you know, that's great that, you know, we have good intentions, but how are we going to walk it out? So one of the things we're going to do in the show is we've got some local families here that are struggling. Their cars are broke down. and we're gonna help them. We're gonna fix their cars, and we've got some sponsors, Continental Tires. We're gonna give them a free set of tires. We're gonna give them some insurance, and we're gonna help them where they're at. And so, but with that, it's great that those people are getting some help. But with that, we've worked with the schools here in town and the college, and we're gonna get some kids from the high schools and the Shelby program to be a part of that. And they're gonna walk that process out with us. And so they're gonna get to meet those people. They're gonna get to play a role in fixing the cars, and then they're going to get to experience giving that car back, and they're gonna get to experience the joy of giving. And so, and you know, it's great that we're helping somebody fix their car, but to me, it's even greater that we're teaching somebody how to give that can keep on giving for the rest of their life. And so, and then we'll challenge the kids, you know, you've walked through this process with us, and you know, now you know it's not really that hard to give. It's not this idea that you can't reach. And so, you know, what are you going to do? And inspire those kids to give. But really in the show, the inspiration of that is to inspire others to give. And so there's a lot of people that have good intentions, but they get in the routine and go through their day, and they come home tired, and you know, and they just sit on the couch or whatever, and then they go to bed that night, and they get up the next day, and they go through the same routine, and they would do something, but you know, one thing is they might not know how to get started or feel like they don't know how to get started, and the other thing is, you know, they don't know really what to do. And so in the show, it's really to inspire them, hey, you just walk through it with us, and it's not that hard. So what are you going to do in your community? And we're going to spotlight some of the companies in town that are doing things within the community to give back. And so, but it'll be about our community, and we support one another, and what it means to be in a community like Mount Pleasant. And so, and to inspire others to do the same in their community. And so on Fridays, from 7 to 9, over there on Industrial, it's there. It's catty corner to the Sweet Shop Chocolate Factory, but most of y'all know where the old wood air conditioning building was. But from 7 to 9 on Fridays, we have free donuts and coffee. The film crew will be there this week, and they will be filming some during donuts and coffee. And so I just want to formally invite everybody, not just here, but everybody here, to come over there on Friday and hang out with us.
All right, thank you. We appreciate that.
John, that just because you got me, I'm fascinated. How many episodes is this going to be? Just like 6 weeks, or is it just all in Mount Pleasant? Could you tell us just a little bit more about the show itself?
So the show is a 6-episode pilot season. One of the advantage, not for the rest of the world, but for us, is all the writers are on strike in Hollywood, and all the actors are on strike in Hollywood. That will likely go on through September. So nobody's filming anything. So we'll be one of the only things as far as new content that'll be out there. Right now we're talking to Netflix and Amazon, but there's likely to be some other bigger players that step up because of the lack of content right now. What we're expecting to get is a 2-season deal, where season 1 and then also a deal for season 2, which would likely be shot in the first quarter of next year. This will likely be out where you could watch it at the end of this year or the very beginning of next year, just depending on the broadcast schedule for wherever it ends up at.
And so Mount Pleasant would still, even if you got a second season, it would still be the home base for this project. And even if you went off site to do something, it'd still primarily be done in home base Mount Pleasant.
John, I want to thank you. I've been fortunate to know you for quite some time, and I told the guys when I come in, we were having a meal, a couple of us, and I told them I had was listening to a podcast over the last day or so, and it was a story about how he was expressing how what true happiness really is, and true happiness is portrayed many different ways, but the only way to have true happiness is to be in the service of others. And I've known you to be that way. Thank you.
as a reminder, on Friday, June the 23rd, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., the North Jefferson Church of Christ will be having hamburgers in Delwood Park at 726 East Ferguson Road as a community outreach, free hamburger.
All right, thank you. All that's some good stuff there. We're gonna go ahead and, at this time, and close that, item 11 and go ahead on to item 12, which is our city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I wanted to publicly tell my staff how much I appreciate them. I got up, early, I got up 3 o'clock, Friday morning, and, our electricity was on, but my clock was flashing, on the stove. And, we've had electricity. I live south, down behind Walmart. We've had electricity all weekend, and it went off while I was asleep, came back on. But I've got staff that just got it yesterday. We're without it all weekend, and some of them still don't have it. But I got a call at 7:30 in the morning as I was getting ready to leave Friday morning, and it was Councilwoman Sproul, and she said, "Where are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm getting ready to leave my place." And she said, "Do you have electricity?" I said, "Yes." And she didn't have it, and didn't have it for most of the weekend too. Got it yesterday. And so so many people in trouble. But what I found out is, and I've also read some rants and raves, that's in the Tribune, and it says that, I guess the city's not out doing anything. They haven't got my tree, and they don't work weekends, and da-da-da-da. My staff was out at 1 o'clock in the morning on Friday morning, and up all through the night and up all day, and they did send some to sleep a little bit, but they've been working through this whole thing to make sure things are taken care of. But I just, sometimes I'm just at awe at what they do, what people do, and what they're able to do to take care of things. And I can't express it in words, but I just want to know how much I appreciate it. And it's a wonderful thing we're in a public service where our job is to serve, and then you see my staff does it. When things are down, they're out there doing the best they can, leave their families and come do the work, and I appreciate it. I wanted to offer Chief McRae, who's another one that was out in the middle of this all weekend, let him come up if he could and just kind of bring us up to date, what's going on a little bit, and then answer some questions if you could.
So we issued a disaster declaration. I wrote it up and gave it to the county judge on Saturday, and then they submitted it to the state, and they met this afternoon. Commissioner's Court did and extended it for 30 days. By doing a countywide, it covers the city of Mount Pleasant, Winfield, Talco, Millers Cove, instead of each individual city doing it. So that's the easiest way to get it out there. So we're still doing ice distribution behind this fire station, but we've only given out about 1,000 bags since we started the other day. The staffing has been by our firefighters, their family members, folks from Titus County Cares, some of our local churches, MPISD, and Chamber of Commerce volunteers are the ones that are actually out there giving out the ice as it comes up. We had a problem with the reefer unit on the 18-wheeler trailer. Called Roger Brandon with Pilgrims. He sent a guy over, got it fixed. Pilgrims is doing a lot for this community right now. The reason we only give out ice, the state would have provided water, ice, and MREs, meals ready to eat. But really the only need we had was for ice. Our water system never went down in the city or the county. Tri-Sud was up. If folks were on a well out in the county, they might have had some issues, but we kind of did a survey of the stores. They had plenty of bottled water and food was out there, so we just told the state, all we need is ice. And they have provided that and will continue to do that. Also, over at Oaklawn Park, Pilgrims is also giving out ice and bottled water as well. The cooling center we've had set up, and we extended that through Friday, but we hadn't had a whole lot of people. I think maybe 2 or 3 a day is all that's coming to the cooling center. I know some of the churches are doing that as well, so I don't think there's an unmet need for cooling centers. We've also worked with Winfield and Miller's Cove to get generators. Their power went out, and their wastewater treatment plants were on generators, and those generators quit. So I got with the state. We got some ordered up, but before we could get those here, the power was put back on, so they never lost, never had to get hooked up on that. We also put out, I believe it was yesterday, any assistance for disabled or elderly folks if they would call the fire station, which again, we have somebody from MPSD manning the phones down there taking the messages, but we've only had like 5 or 6 requests for anything from some, just go check on a couple of people, and but that apparently is not something that everybody's needing right now, but again, it's out there if they need it. We've provided forms to all of our employees, city, county, volunteer fire departments to track their time, even asking to go back to the beginning of the event and estimate, so that if we do get federal funding from FEMA available because of this, we'll have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed and have that. TDM, Texas Department of Emergency Management, also, once this is kind of over with, we'll bring a finance person in from the state and get with Lori and the people from the county, sit down and make sure we got everything where we need to be, just in case we do get a disaster or a FEMA money becomes available. The sleeping camp is still running out at the junior high. Again, SWEPCO actually has somebody out there manning that, but we provided, the fire department's had about 200 cots left over from, I think, the storm in 2000. So we took those, went out and set those up at the junior high. Judd Marshall never batted eye when I asked him if we could do that. He bent over backwards to make that happen for us. Cell phone outage, we had that, I think that was Sunday that happened. We were out for a couple of hours, and we realized how dependent we are on cell phones. Even though our public works and county and other folks, we have radio systems. We use ours on a regular basis, but the others have kind of migrated to cell phones instead of using the radio. So we're going to revisit that to make sure all of our radios, portables, have good hot batteries. And so, you know, it was just a 2-hour period and it was over towards the end. But if it had been early on and we lost cell power, comms would have been a problem. So we are going to address that. So I talked with Jennifer Harlan this afternoon late, and she said by 10 p.m. tonight they should have 90% of everything that was out back up and running. And BuoyCast said pretty much the same thing. They ought to have less than 100 people in Titus County without power on BuoyCast by that time. During all this, we have responded to a structure fire on Monday morning that we were out there about 3 or 4 hours out in the county with some of our volunteer fire departments. And then this morning, over on First Street at about 8:30 to noon, we were working a structure fire over there. Today it was brutal on our guys. The heat plus the structure that we were working was a older building that had been added on to and added on to and added on to, and we just couldn't get to the fire. It took us, like I said, we were there 4 hours to do that. And basically, you may have seen some of the Facebook posts, our wives, our daughters, sons, grandsons, all that came to help with the rehab, bring us water and ice and all that. So with that, y'all have any questions?
Chief, do you think we can claim any of that damage that was done to the water tower, the two-way radio comm system? Can we file any of the the damage that was done as far as equipment and man hours that was spent to put it back in service?
No, I would say yes. It's because that's what they're looking for. There was supposed to have been a guy from TDM here tonight to kind of explain the thresholds. He wasn't able to make it, so I'm not going to try to go into detail, but the state of Texas has to have $53 million worth of damage to like local governments and infrastructure. But for the state of Texas, for Titus County, we have to have $139,000 worth of damage to like our infrastructure, not somebody's houses or whatever. That's infrastructure, so that would count toward it. And again, that's why we're logging the time and stuff. If it's things we did outside our normal job, like I asked them, I said, so our guys were out clearing a lot of trees off of roads and stuff, and they went, well, that's not what you normally do. So that could be counted as hours towards that $138,000. So, but again, that's why we sent that out to the county, the city, the volunteer fire department, even our volunteers that are manning the ICE trailer and answering the phone. We're tracking their time because that helps offset that cost as well.
So I can work on getting those numbers for you for that.
That'd be great.
All right, thanks, Chief. We appreciate it. Like I said, you guys play a very intricate part in the city's well-being and the livelihood, man. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Mayor.
The reason, Chief mentioned about the grandkids and kids over volunteering, the reason they had so many is because the cell phones were down right during that time, so they didn't even. This is all I have. Remind you, we won't have a meeting on the 4th of July, so this is all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Thatcher. At this time, we'll go ahead and close item 12 on the agenda, and at this time, the council will be going into executive session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act of Chapter 551 Texas Government Code. The city council will recess into executive session to discuss the following, which will be consultation with outside legal counsel regarding land development. At this time, the council will be in executive session. Time is now 9:24. The council is now reconvening back into our regular session. There's no action taken in executive session at this time. We are adjourned.